Now, we have a very interesting topic. We're going to be talking a little bit about, I guess what we discussed last week in terms of being an underground artist, right? And, let me just pause that so that's not fucking playing. You know, one very important thing that we touched on last week was what it means to be an underground artist, right? And let me sip my coffee before I continue this thought. Have to keep refreshing my internet. Jesus, say, bro. So, coffee's been sipped. Now, grab your snacks, grab your fucking drinks, put your feet up. Let's have a discussion. Something that, like I said, we discussed last week was what it means to be an underground artist and why it's important and what it is and the people, that, you know, like, look down on it, right? And they're like, fuck being an underground artist. Like, I don't want to be an underground artist and all this other shit, right? Like, nobody wants to be a fucking underground artist, motherfucker. Like, let's just, like I was saying last week, for more context, it's a lot deeper than that. It's very important. The underground is vital to a lot of mainstream culture aspects, and being an underground artist that has full creative control, cares about their work, has a support base, takes care of their friends and family, and are able to make a living independently through their own music, and also having an impact that's very profound, and also accomplishing their goals, I go a lot deeper into this in episode 69, but for right now, you guys know what I'm talking about. And if you were here last Monday, you know what I'm saying. So, what does that have to do this week? Why am I bringing that up again? Well, I think it was last week. No, last night. I'm a pretty avid listener of Halsey, and I have always been a pretty big supporter of her music and her journey, and I'm just a huge fan of her sound, right? And you may have heard this, you may have not have heard this, but Halsey took to TikTok to have a rant about her label preventing her from releasing music until she goes viral on TikTok. And she went into a little bit of detail about this. I'm not going to play the TikTok because DMCA music. But long story short, her label is preventing her from releasing anything new until her numbers on socials reach a certain point. And for somebody like me, and for a lot of us, we see a huge problem with that. And why does it fucking matter, right? Because we're underground artists, we're independent artists, we Halsey's completely established and mainstream. Well, last week, we were discussing a few topics in relation to being an underground artist, and one of them was labels and what labels do to underground artists. And not all labels are bad, not all labels are predatory or things like that. They're very good labels and companies and people involved in those labels and companies that genuinely care about artists and music. But when situations arise like this one, right, where we have somebody very established like Halsey, feeling like they have no other option but to take to socials and really talk about this subject, right? And of course, there's people who don't believe it, this, that, and the third, yada yada yada, promo, whatever the case may be, right? This is still a very real situation that does happen, regardless of whether this case in question is genuine or not. That's really not the point here. The point is the fact that this is very real, and for the people that are very thirsty to get onto labels and very hungry for that check, right? And very hungry to sign any contract and get out of the struggle and do all these things. This is one of the cases and a perfect example of what I was really talking about last week, right? And I actually have a couple tweets from Halsey that we're going to take a look at. Now, this is kind of interesting because this is about 21 hours ago. And her most recent tweet discussing this, right, goes into detail. And she says, talk to my label tonight after my TikTok tantrum. They said, wow, the TikTok is really going strong. And I was like, okay, cool. So can I release my song now? They said, we'll see. Tell me again how I'm making this up. And then somebody said, drop it anyways. I can't. They own the master. Now, I'm going to pause right there. Before we even fucking continue this conversation. Drop it anyways. I can't. They own the master. You might think, why would a label want, you to go viral on TikTok? Why does that matter? Why is that a big deal? Creative control is something that underground artists have over a lot of very successful mainstream artists, right? And that's why labels prey on a lot of very strong independent artists. People like Juice WRLD, people like Peep, people like X, right? Where, say they pass away, they just do a bunch of foul shit, and their estate also condones a bunch of foul shit. And that's all, orchestrated by labels and shit. And that's just one example. But the difference between us and them, and the people that are independent, is that we don't have to deal with that. We own everything we create, right? And what is a master, for those of you who don't know, and you should know, but I'm going to tell you anyway. It's basically your copyright. So when you sign a contract in a label, and, depending on the details of that contract, they could own pretty much your whole catalog depending on what you sign away on. And they're going to hang that over your head, like in this situation here, for you to really, for them to really reap as much out of you as they can. And this is kind of a little bit crazy in this scenario because Halsey is very established. She's not some new artist, right? You know what I mean? Like, she's had many, many hits. Somebody like this shouldn't need to be treated like a dog when they want to drop music. And that is something that a lot of people need to think about when they say, fuck being an underground artist, who wants to be underground, this, that, or whatever the fuck, the negative people, right? These are the types of situations that people don't think about. And, even somebody, like I said, as established as Halsey, could be sideswiped by this. And you're like, yo, I'm just trying to drop music and da-da-da-da. And your label's like, nah. We need a little bit more out of this. Let's squeeze this sponge a little bit more, right? And that's why it's important to take being an independent artist very serious and watch what you do when it comes to labels and it comes to contracts. Because you will never have to deal with these things if you take control of your own career. And nobody's gonna hang anything over your head. You know what I mean? You need a manager, you need a distribution deal, and you'll have full creative control. There's plenty of really good, successful independent artists that own their masters and can do whatever they want with their music. They can sell it to whoever. They can, do this, that, and the third. But when a label owns your masters, they own everything to do with that. And they take a lot from you, like a lot. And, everybody talks about that check being in advance and this, that, and the third. It's true. It's very true. Make no mistake. The label will get that money back from you. And whether that's by force or you're like, yeah, sure, no problem, guys. And in which case, you don't really give a fuck about music. Because, like, those people that just act like music is like a factory and, like, just kind of like, sort of, they're just in it for the bread, and which is fine. But in the long term, a lot of that stuff never works out. And it's very, very hard to capitalize off of the, like, sort of almost high point you could be at. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of very successful independent artists that get their bills paid, that do a lot of things, that can go on tours and this and this and this. The Denzel Currys, the Bones, the Xavier Wolves, you know what I mean? There's so many that, have distro deals and sign with, XYZ or, whatever label, but they don't have to fucking abide by them. You know what I mean? Like they don't have to really be any sort of, like, puppet almost. And like, that's the real big advantage to a lot of independent artists. And that's why you see a lot of people saying, I'm not signing, I'm not doing this. NBA Youngboy, one of the hottest mainstream artists in 2022, turned down what, like 25 mil from, I think it was Atlantic. Like, that speaks volumes to, like, how people want to control their career now. And more people are understanding that a lot of these labels are very predatory, very, very predatory. And like I said, there's, like Mark mentioned, signing can be a bittersweet deal, right? And this sounds like, some sort of like fuck label rant. But in reality, there's a lot of, like I said at the start, like, people that are involved at labels, are heads of labels, are heads of subsidiaries that care about artists and their art and music, and, managers, and a lot of people are very good to the culture, no matter what you're doing. But there's always other situations that, does the good outweigh the bad? You know what I mean? And that's why it's not a matter of, like, just getting a deal. You know what I mean? Like, everybody wants to talk about deals. It's like, tell me what the fuck you know about a deal. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, bro. Like, let's be realistic here. Like, anybody who fucking says that shit has never even had a contract in their face. Like, people need to lure the fuck up if you're an independent artist, if you get offered a contract by any major or their subsidiary. Like, it's not a game, because, as we're about to see, Halsey continued this rant. She goes, I've been minding my own business on tour, taking care of my baby, 4 albums deep, coasting. I'm way too established to stir something like this up for no reason, or resort to this as a marketing tactic, but now I'm in too deep, so there's no going back. The music video is literally already done. And once again, here we have somebody saying you should drop it. Again, the label owns it. And her next tweet, and I still don't know what to do, because I was told the truth about what's happening. I still don't have a release date, and some of you think I'm lying about this whole fiasco, so I'm double fucked. If you have any questions, I have answers. I have nothing to hide. Is there any way to release it through a different label? No, I'm in a contract. For how long have you had this song ready? I wrote it in January, and then I had to reproduce it a few times to get the label on board. But in its current state, mixed and mastered and ready to drop, over a month. Now, she's just giving a lot of backstory about the song and the music video, and it's a very tough thing. It's a very, very tough thing. And whether it's Halsey, whether it's a brand new independent artist, no matter what the case may be, the point of this is to spread awareness. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you what's right for your career unless you ask me. You know what I mean? That's not some advice that, you could hand out it if, somebody's spitting bullshit, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you what to do with your career. What I will do is give you my best advice as a whole, and for everybody who doesn't know what to do, everybody who has questions like this, everybody who, you know, doesn't know where to put their mind, right? Because sometimes being an independent artist or an underground artist, whatever you want to refer to it as, is stressful. You know what I mean? Sometimes there's no way out. Sometimes, it feels like crabs in a barrel. And, you're doing a lot of legwork. You're doing the art, you're doing the filming, you're doing the recording, you're working a day job, but it's hard. It's hard. But you have to stand tall on who you are as an artist. Like, you have to really own that shit and be like, no, like, I'm better than that. Like, somebody could flash, X amount of dollars in your face, but in a really bad contract, really bad deal, it's not all sweet like that. Especially if you're already like, okay, like, I have my bills paid, like, I got my distro check, I'm playing little shows here or there, I can put out merch of my own. Like, do I really need a deal right now? It's just like, damn, like, what if I keep growing and then, managers and labels and this and this, all these people take cuts out of you, and you're almost better off working, a day job sometimes. And, you know, there's a lot of stories that you could bring up, you know what I mean? PPG Casper, a lot of people who were just fucking bottlenecked by labels and wouldn't let them do anything for a long time. And it's just something to be aware of. I wouldn't feel okay not talking about this. It's definitely something that's like, it needs to be spread, whether, this applies to you or not. But for the people that are like, okay, like, I'm taking my career seriously, and I do want a deal, and I do want to negotiate the right deal, and I do want to fucking really take this chance and really, like, do the proper thing. Just be smart. Always respect yourself, and never forget why you started, man. Like, seems like the cliche kind of shit, but when all shit is said and done, like, this shit's supposed to be fun, and this shit's, it's a job like anything else, so you're gonna work hard, but it's a blessing to be able to be an artist and able to pay your bills and things like that. So everybody wants that opportunity, but just be cautious, and you'll be all good, straight up. You know what I mean? And once again, for context, like, this isn't like some anti-label rant. None of that. You know what I mean? There's a lot of artists that I've even interviewed that got fucking label offers after I've interviewed them. I was like, holy shit. And like cases like that, you know what I mean? Like, they were smart enough to go negotiate and really try to work out what's best for them. You know what I mean? Because your art's important, and when you own your masters and you get like one hit, bro, like, you could just eat off that for the rest of your life. Your family can, like, you know what I mean? There's so many artists that just went and dipped off that nobody even, remembers within the last decade, that had one hit, owned their masters, and now they're off in fucking, Puerto Rico on a beach somewhere sipping a fucking pina colada. You know what I'm saying? Like, that happens. So, it's okay, but just be cautious. Watch out for that shit, because these motherfuckers, like I said, some of them do and some of them don't care about, music and artists and their well-being. So, just try to read people out. Have a good crew around you that you trust, that you can talk to this shit about. You know what I mean? Not people who are like, yeah, dude, sign that shit. Like, you know what I mean? And all they want is, a cut of your check. No, like, have like real motherfuckers around you that you can discuss business with and discuss your career, private things, and really work out what's best for you. So, very important topic there. I hope you all get where I'm coming from, and I wish you all the best, truly, because I wouldn't want to see that happen to anybody, and everybody who is involved in the Music Mondays community is extremely, extremely talented. So, just take your career by the balls, or the metaphorical balls, and own that shit. You know what I mean? Never take your foot off the gas pedal, for real.